Hi, Colin.
Hello.
How
I was
are
just looking for a
you?
prettier background than this, but I gave up. Good. How are you?
Yeah, we are doing. The two were just talking about it before the long on about getting a better background to make sure everybody could see everybody.
Yes. Well, they have very clean backgrounds, so I imagine so everything is very visible.
Definitely. Well, Colin, welcome back to the Cat Jack podcast. Last time you were on, we talked about your other two destination movies that happened, which was the Polar Opposites and the Machu Picchu Proposal. And now tonight we will be talking about one of the winter escape movies called Love on the Amazon.
Yes, thank you for having me back. I remember we shot those two back to back last year, so um, this was
Definitely. I mean, I
a very
really
different
enjoyed
place.
that movie. I really love the adventurous concept of the movie. So I'm going to be asking a lot of questions and picking the brain on how to do behind the scenes because movie on a boat, another movie with another boat. So I wanted to hear your experience about it. So how was the filming in Brazil? I mean, I know the little bit different location from Machu Picchu and the different elevation and different location. So how was it filming like in the Amazon?
It was a fantastic experience, but it was a very different kind of location and a very unique environment to shoot in. It was actually not in Brazil. We actually filmed in the Peruvian Amazon, which is, up the river a
Oh
little bit.
yeah.
Uh, but because we knew, fantastic local crew in Peru from Machu Picchu Proposal, so we wanted to work with the same team again because they're really good. So we chose to go there. But certainly, going in, we all were very wary of the environment. Like the Amazon is famously hot and humid and buggy and wet, and it was all of those things. So that was not a surprise. Got a lot of vaccinations in advance. Um, but it was the culture there is also very different from the Sacred Valley region of Peru, even though it's the same country, to the point where sometimes our production team actually had difficulty communicating with the locals, even though they all spoke Spanish. The dialects were so different that they would sometimes not be able to understand each other. But everybody was very welcoming and friendly and helpful. It's just such a unique environment. Like it feels like, the city was Iquitos. And when you go there, it kind of feels like you're in the last city before wilderness. Like there's no roads to there. So you have to fly there or go up the river. And then you can sit, like we sit on the balcony of the hotel up on the roof when I first spoke to JC. And at night you can look out and it's just black, like all the way to the horizon because you cross the river and there's no more stuff. Like there's trees, and if there's some people there, but um, there's often not even a power grid. Like it's local generators running things if there's power. And so it's really like adjacent to the jungle, and also partially because there's a huge national park there that is intentionally uninhabited. It's enormous, so it really is like a city on the edge of wilderness.
That's amazing. I mean, I was just watching the movie Amazon. I was just like, how did Colin, the team, or Hallmark, like, pull it off? I mean, like you said, it was like in the middle of, I don't know, nowhere, just in the jungle. It feels like I'm watching the movie. Okay, someone just took the whole Hallmark team cast, the crew of the movie production, drop them off, okay, make a movie, see you later.
Pretty much.
That's really
we had a
amazing. I
very
really like that
short.
unique experience. I wanted to know more about how. was the challenging, and how were you able to overcome any challenging during the filming, like getting on land or getting into a specific location when it's just purely nothing but the jungle with a village here, a village there?
Yeah, I mean, so it was very much a learning experience. Like we are our Peruvian producer, Maida, had been there before and worked there before. So she was a good resource for us even before we left. She's not from there, she's from the Sacred Valley area, but she flew in and we flew in. And I think we got there 10 days before the shoot. It was a very quick prep. And we were just like, all right, by 10 days from now, we have to be on a boat of some kind on this river, like filming a movie. And we had to learn how things work there. And there's a lot of kind of surprises, just in the sense of like the rivers, the water level changes so much throughout the year that they don't build a lot of permanent structures. Like there aren't docks. So there was a lot of docks in the script, and we had to talk to.
Yeah.
I called Juliana, the writer, and I was like, "Hey, FYI, no docks, no docks, no anchors. They don't do that. Like we gotta take those out." And so we kind of adapted the script to match what we found a bit. But we also just did a lot of, shoe leather kind of legwork, get in a boat, ride out and look for stuff. And then when you meet people, ask them who they knew. And like we had, um, locals who were helping us out. There's this great place, the Amazon Eco Lodge, it was called. And the owners of that place we keep running into them at the port. They'd be like, oh, hey, hello again. Like, we found this other person who you might want to talk to, and then we'd go look at their place. And then, it was just kind of, we were just out every day looking. We'd literally pull up alongside of a boat in the harbor, and like Maida would call up like, hey, can we see your boat? And then they'd like let us climb on the boat and tour their boat. We'd take their phone number and be like, we'll call you if we if we want to shoot on your boat. And we just looked around and talked to people until we put together a plan that felt like it would add up to this movie.
Yeah, it must be crazy because, going to a location, but you also said you worked on the same team from Machu Picchu because they are locals or whatever. So when I watched the movie a handful of times. I mean, all winter escape movies, I watched them all handful of times to try to nitpick and try to figure things out. So there were a couple of scenes like the wildlife, like with the iguana on the boat, and I think it was the anaconda toward to the end of the movie. So I'm just curious, like working with a movie, a destination movie with exotic animals or wildlife or the jungle, the production crew have like experts from the local to make sure the crew stays safe. So like the part where Claire waked up and she thought there was a snake. It was the iguana. So how did the crew work around that with animals? Because I know sometimes animals can be unexpected. And so we're gonna shoot, make the basketball and see how it looks in the movie.
Yeah, no, we did. We found might have found local people who were we talked to like the wildlife rehabilitation places, and we talked to kind of local experts, and we would have them on set to help us plan the scenes with the animals safely, and not to upset the animal. Like iguanas aren't dangerous; they can bite you, but they're not going to bite you like really badly.
Right.
But at the same time, it was a pretty big iguana, so we planned like, okay, when the iguana comes out, we'll put it down, everyone will be quiet. We kind of rolled it all in one take, and just did kind of rolling resets. With the snake, that we had to be a lot more careful because it was an anaconda, and you can't
Yeah.
train a snake. So I saw somebody commented like, "Oh, at the end, the sister should have walked over and pet the snake to show that it wasn't dangerous." And I was like, "It is dangerous. It's very like it's an anaconda."
Well, there's
Um,
no way I'm gonna get near that anaconda or any kind of snake. I'll be like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. No way.
yeah, no, they were like, "Stay at least like 8 feet away." Like even the camera was probably closer than it should have been. But Alex, the DP, is brave, and it was like the camera was between me and it. Um, But yeah, we tried to be very, careful and plan those scenes as best we could. Though finding those animals was not always easy. And some of the animals that we got were almost like a coincidence, like the fish that startles Claire at the beginning, and so she trips and falls like that. Um, that was a paicha, and they're huge. They're like the one we saw was like 8 feet long, and it just happened to be in the water where we were filming Amelia's the sister, right, when they would find the sister, like when we were filming the meeting, like that lake, they were in that lake, and so we just fed through some food in the water and filmed the fish. They were used to tourists feeding them, so if you like made a gesture like you were going to throw food, it would go,
Right.
and so we did that and shot it. And then the piranhas were in the same place, and we just
Yeah.
aimed the camera at the water and threw some food in the water. That went crazy. Um, so we didn't have to bring them in; they were just there.
Yeah, definitely. When I thought about it, okay, I'm not sure how I feel about that because piranha, I just like, I was like, I was thinking about that, but like you said, there's no control over the wildlife or the animal life while you're filming. If an animal crosses by, you have to make a do and then see if it works out in the movie or not. Flip it out. So that was really interesting with all of the wildlife and animals in the Amazon. I thought it was really pretty. With the boat and on the river, the scenery. I should have to talk about the boat. I feel like the boat in the focus of the movie. I mean, I know it's big and lucky, but I thought it was the most beautiful boat.
Oh, thank you. Our production designer Olga and art director Paolo would be very happy to hear you say that. They put a lot of work into making it look amazing, and we spent a lot of time looking for the boat. The boat, likewise, like you said, it was kind of the center point of the movie. It is
It was the
ultimately a
house
kind
to
of
find the
riverboat
right
movie.
kind of boat to carry everybody because I mean the majority of the time is on the Amazon and there's no way to control how the Amazon goes. Very smooth, very quiet. And then we go to the rapids, which we will talk about later. I want to know more about that. But I just thought the boat was very well construction, and I want to know how they were able to secure the boat along with three other smaller boats to get to the land or to get to the village. So I thought it was just like a purpose. I thought it was just because it's big, it's old, and it's just Amazon beer, but at the same time, I was in love with the boat. I was just like, oh my God, I want to be there. I want to be on that boat, making the movie, just grabbing everything I can around me. That must be an amazing experience for you, along with the cast and the crew.
We kind of feel a little bit like we resurrected that boat. We literally found it sitting by the side of the river, down this kind of industrial offshoot of a river by the city, just kind of stored because it was a tourist boat that I think they didn't have enough business to keep it operating. So it was kind of, I would say dry docked, but really they just kind of tied to the side of the river as they do there. And we looked at so many boats because we wanted a boat that was big enough. I decided early on that I wanted to film in motion. Like I didn't want to be faking going down the river. I was like, I want a real boat. I want to be on the boat. And when they're talking and the boat's sailing, like that's what we're gonna do. I'm like, then we won't have to worry about faking it. It'll be real. And so we wanted a boat that we could have for 8 days and would kind of take us wherever we wanted to go up and down the rivers, and that could hold consequently the entire cast and crew because the other way to do it, which we looked at, was to get a smaller, prettier boat, um, and then we're all on support boats, and you'd have to shuttle people back and forth every time you needed to change something. Like, oh, you need to change costumes, like get in the little boat, go over to the other boat, change your costume, come back, and we just don't have the time for that. So we needed one that was big enough for both. And this boat was kind of a good compromise. It was wooden on the outside, so it was kind of pretty. It had been a little neglected, so it had some wear, which we told them to leave because they offered to fix it up for us. And then Paula and Olga came in and painted all the railings, and we put the thatch roof on the top, and we kind of covered the windows for the guest cabins so that it didn't look like a cruise ship. Um, and then we sailed it around until it broke down. But it was very much a day where we kind of settled on that boat, and we went to meet them at the side of the river. And we were like, all right, like you have to prove that this boat will move because it was pretty beat up. And so they came, and it took like an hour to get it startable. And then they started the engine and like backed this boat out. And I mean, if the river's this wide, like the boat is this big. So it's like this like 19-point turn to come out, and then we're moving down the river, and like all the locals were coming out and looking up at us like, what are these crazy people doing on this giant boat in this tiny river like at this time of year? Like it felt like we kind of revived that boat, and it moved. So we were like, all right, this is our boat. We're committed. And then we
Yeah,
we kind of worked on it all day for eight days.
that was really nice. I mean, I thought it was really good and what better. So I'm like, think I'm like, was it hard? I know you're not gonna learn all of the equipment. So how did you manage? Okay, how do you manage each day for shooting on the boat? Like, how do you know what to bring or what to expect? Because, like you said, you never know what kind of river you're gonna get each day. Calm river or a wild, angry river or some weather. Because, like you said, the tide changes every day all the time. So, what was the vision of the equipment on the boat and making sure the people on the boat are safe? Along with no equipment flying off the boat or, like with the wrapping skin in the movie.
Yeah. So actually, where we were, the water was usually quite calm. Unless there was a lot of rain, we were gonna pretty much stay dry. So we brought everything. We took all the beds out of the rooms, like stood them up, and then we brought everything we had. We did hair and makeup on the boat. We did wardrobe on the boat. We like had all the camera and lighting equipment on the boat. We had generators.
Wow.
So because we not only filmed on the boat from the boat, but then there were a few places where we planned like locations that we would go to with the boat. So we would shoot in transit, and then kind of our path for the day would be like towards a specific place. And then when we finished our scene, we would get off and film a scene on the shore there. Um, so that way the boat was both transit and um, our set. So it was while we were on it, it was our base. Like we had everything was on there. We even ate meals there.
Happening. So out of the day with filming, how did you plan out the filming? Like what to do, decide on what's easier or what's challenging to do to the hard or challenging getting both because it's the math because you are on the boat. Majority of the time trying to get to a location to a specific area to film. So how do you decide we're gonna do this first and then we're gonna work our way down the river or up the river? So what was the whole vision of the movie?
Our schedule was pretty much dictated by the location and the river, like where things were.
Okay.
So there were two factors. The first was that in the movie, you'll hear them talk a lot about like the water level is dropping this time of year. That's 100% true. So the river that we were going to do a lot of shooting on, they were like, we can probably go up there the first week, but by the third week, it will be inaccessible. The water will be too low. So we had to shoot all those scenes first. And then it was about like what's in proximity to that. So, um, it was based on kind of clustering things together, trying to keep Millie and Bruno's scenes together-ish. And then towards the last week, we went like an hour and a half south to Nauta on a different river, sort of. And then we filmed scenes down there because we were heading for that treehouse lodge, which was another hour and a half by boat from Nauta. So we kind of structured it based on where things were, because the travel time was a lot. So it was very much like
Or
water level, then condensing things together, and then physical locations.
because of the water level, it made it hard for the boat to get to the location, or like we can't get there at all because of the water level?
Yeah, no, like if you see, I remember there was a day where the dock that they meet at, right at the beginning of the movie, there's this blue wooden dock where Claire and
Mm.
Danny meet. And that was actually, that wasn't intentionally a set. That was the dock that we left from most days to go scout. Um, and it's floating because a lot of things there are floating. But I was trying to find it on Google Maps, it's like the satellite view, and I couldn't find it. Like I had the pin, but it wasn't on the picture. And I was really confused until I realized that what it is the river, the water level changes between summer and winter so much that it wasn't even on the screen. Like they just
Wow.
move it with the shore. So there were rivers that we filmed on in the beginning of the movie that by the end of the movie were dry. Like they were just not a river anymore. Uh, the water level had dropped 10 or 15 feet over 3 weeks. And it just, that's what it does year round. Like it's an enormous difference. So you'll see in the movies, like she drives by in the tuk tuk, those buildings up on stilts. Like the water level in the summer is up there. That's, those buildings are
Wow.
built to the water level. And in the winter, it's the road. We weren't even in the winter yet. It was the fall, I guess. So, um, yeah, it was that like the boat would run aground in the shallow rivers, or the river would just be gone. Like the scene where they go looking for the dolphins, um, the river that I wanted to shoot on had dried up, and then the next one I wanted to shoot on was too far away, and so we ended up filming on that one just because we could get to it. But like it was hard to scout because things would change so much between just when you scouted it and 2 weeks later. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, that's just really amazing because I know sometimes some areas of the world just basically depend on the water level. Like some areas are, oh no, this is good. And some areas like with the water level, like Hawaii or some other entire country, the island, just like, oh, we don't go there anymore. There's no water. Like, really, because at that time of the year, there's no water. I showed you, it's like sand, rock, or debris. And then maybe after the hurricane or some random storm, we go back another time, boom, there's water. People are going that to that beach. I was like, so it's really fascinating to see how the ecosystem and the environment adapt to make a change for pretty much anything, getting from one location to another. Because I heard from another podcast, I think it was with Noah and Kristen that we talked a little bit about the water level. I was just like, really, that's really fascinating because I also made it feel like a challenging, especially with the filming or on a time frame. With the, we need to get to that location. We need to film there. So, were there any locations out of the whole movie that you planned, but you were unable to film due to unforeseen circumstances with the water, or nah, just can't do it. We'll find a different place.
Yeah, that happened quite a bit. It usually does. I mean, none of them in this case, nothing of consequence, like without time to account for it. Like there were things we wanted to use that we couldn't use, but we kind of knew that a few days in advance, right? Like we would be like, oh, we'd love to use this place, and then we'd try to figure out the logistics, and it just wouldn't work. Um, but there were very few places that we were trying to get to, and like on the day it didn't work. With the exception, like I said, that river with the dolphins, like we just the sun was setting and we were on the boat, like powering our way towards it. We were like, all right, this math isn't mathing. Like by the time we get there, it's going to be dark. So turn right and we'll film here. So that kind of thing happens, but mostly it was in advance. But yeah, I mean, the other thing too, just in talking about the water level, like I know it sounds like a boring thing, but it's such a part of their life. Like we talked to a few indigenous communities about appearing in the movie as the town they stop at. And one of them had their town in the summer is on the river. But in the winter, it's a 3 hour walk to get to the river. So they're like, they plan like different times of the year where it's like, okay,
Wow.
this half of the year we are part of Iquitos, and then the other half of the year they just pack up like they're isolated. So they're isolated through the winter, and then on the summer and it's like that's just how things are. It's like It's
It's
like
very
where we have, things are defined by the snow. It's theirs defined by the river.
yeah, for sure. Like it's different. It almost feels like the concept of a flood. So like the river, like over here in Wisconsin, we have so much rain at the river, like a normal, typical river level, not too high or low. But when it's like low, that where the water goes, it's like really low. But then when we get a lot of rain or storms, I mean ongoing rain, the river will just continue to rise and flood over to people's homes or areas. I mean, we had really in my neighborhood. I mean, I was driving. We were very lucky not to have any flooding in our basement because our home is a little bit elevated, a little bit like a small hill, and we have all of the garden going away from the home. But a couple of my neighbors had to open up their garage, clean out their garage because it's flooding. So like it's a little different, it's a little really interesting concept comparing back situation along with the Amazon, like the summertime, water everywhere. The people go right there, there's the river, but like in the fall, in the winter, the water tide goes down and 3 hours to walk just to get water. Something that's really fascinating along with the Amazon culture and traditions down there.
Yeah. And actually, there was, and I think about it, there was a little a village that we looked at that we considered for the school, and we went there and looked at it. We
Yeah,
drove up on a
yeah.
boat, we visited, and then like by the time the shoot happened, which was a week and a half later, they're like, "Oh yeah, you can't go there by boat anymore. Now you have to go like half a mile away and walk." And we're like, "Okay, well we can't do that, But it was amazing. It's so fast. It's so extreme. Like just the level it changes over the year.
Yeah, that was really nice. I really liked the part. So in the movie, but each part, like the village, or another village when you do other locations, like I thought the school part was really pretty, and I really liked how they go in and just, like nice to see schools from different countries and different cultures and how they teach or how they incorporate the community teaching canned English. And it was just really beautiful. I really like that moment because I'm a teacher. So I really like to see different countries or different states and how they support the schools or how they run the schools to see what it looks like. So it was really nice. How much time to like spend in each location, like a day, or how to do it, like sometimes to stay at the location for a few days to burn what you can get.
Well, I mean, a lot of them, they're not actually kind of distinct locations. But like the each stop was constructed probably from a series of different places that they weren't all actually in one town, right? It was a series. We would try to plan where like there were two kind of towns that we spent some time in near Iquitos, Independencia, and Barrio Florido, and like we spent a day in each because that's just what makes sense from a schedule perspective if you're going to take the time to go there. Um, like transportation was a thing. We'd have to get up, get in a van, drag the van to the shore, unload from the van to boats, take the boats sometimes an hour away, and then unload from the boat onto the shore and carry stuff into the village. And then once we were in the village, we would have to get on tuk-tuks, which are those like three-wheeled bicycle things, and like ride to our location. So, transportation could take a long time. And it's like once you're there, you want to get everything. So like independent or like one of those days, the giant tree, um, a, a street that got cut, theme we didn't use, and then like the school and um, the lake where they meet Amelia, um, were all together, and the soccer field. Like that was a day. We did all those things. They're all kind of close together, but they're all from different spots in the movie. Uh,
In that movie, were there more traveling in that movie, like from one place to one location compared to the other destination movies like Machu Picchu or Polar Opposite?
I mean, it was different traveling because there was so many boats involved. There's just you can't do anything by car. I think we had 2 days that were car days, and everything else was boat. So it was different, but a similar amount, I think. I mean, Polar Opposites we shot in 3 different countries, so can't hard to compete with that. But we did a lot. A lot. It was a very travel dependent movie because, like, when you're on a boat, filming on a boat, the movement of the boat is such a factor. You know, where is it? What direction is it going? Where does that put the sun? What do you see off the side? How long is it going to take to get to the next place? And then on top of that, trying to kind of tell a story with it, like the feeling of the river starting wide and getting narrower as the movie goes on. Like you had to kind of plan which scenes you were shooting and where the boat was going to be for each of those scenes, and then not mess it up. Because
Yeah.
when you reach the end, you got to turn around, and if you're not done, then the light's just going to change, and you got to deal with it. Or if drive by the loading dock for the fuel company, that's not pretty. You're not going to film against that, so you got to change your shot.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the part at the end of the movie where player band to Amelia and they stay at a really really sweet, cool up in the tree hotel. I was just like the main thing, and I knew like you said it was very challenging because you have to go up one by one. It's not like a typical okay, hop in, 5 people, and then do a pulley system all the way up to the hotel room, tree house thing. I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Juliana, the writer, found that from her internet research. It's called the Treehouse Lodge, and it's a very like high-end eco lodge that's like 3 hours outside of Iquitos, half of it by boat, half of it along the only road. Um, so we planned a lot around that because we knew we really wanted to shoot there. But they have, I think, 12 treehouse rooms, and they're really high up. Like they are built.
Ah,
Um,
wow.
I think it was 200 steps up, like really high up in the treetops. And there's staircases, and then between the rooms there are hanging bridges and walkways because the water level in the summer comes up so high that the floor of the jungle there is water. So you want the walkways elevated. And most of us stayed across the river in a series of other kind of eco lodges, they call them. And the place where um, Claire and Danny dance to Danny's tape, and where they find Mateus kind of coming out of the building. That was where we actually slept. So that was our that was our rooms. It was right across the river from the Treehouse Lodge. But then to shoot in the Treehouse Lodge, they had a weight limit, so you could only have 2 people at a time on the rope bridge or 5 people in a room. And so Pablo and David built winch systems to pull equipment up, and then we would have the 2 actors, sound, camera, and me in the room to film, and then we'd be like, okay, we need to change a light, and then I would run down, and then Pablo would come up, and he would change the light, and then he would come down, and I'd go back up,
Oh
and then
my
we'd need to
goodness.
do a hair check, and I'd go down, and it was like this like cycle out process to work in that space. Uh,
Yeah, I'm
but it
sure there
was
were a lot.
beautiful.
I'm sure there were a lot of challenges with that movie because you have hotels or whatever up in the trees, and there are some places you can't get to by boat, or you have to walk the water to and the boat on the Amazon without knowing the Amazon temperament with the water. So it was really fascinating, and kudos, it came out to be a really good movie. How the storyline
Actually,
goes with that.
one of the other things that was hard about the Treehouse Lodge was figuring out how to show it. Like it's so high up and such a dense tree canopy that as we were filming it, I was kind of worried we weren't really getting capturing the sense of what it's really like, because we tried to do some drone photography, but you could barely see them because the trees just cover everything. And then when you're in the building, looking down, you don't really, it doesn't give you a sense of scale. And we didn't have the time to send a camera down to shoot up. So
Ah.
it was like, we got a couple shots from other walkways looking towards the building. And I think the best scale comes from the kind of morning scene in there where they're talking. You can see the neighboring room and the bridge between. But it was a wild place. But it's one of those things where it's like you don't know what you're going to be able to capture until you kind of actually see it, and like conveying the sense of what it's like is a
Yeah, I'm gonna
challenge.
have to watch that again. I'm gonna have to watch that. Probably gonna do what you mean, but yeah, I'm just wondering, like, because like you said, the tree house is way up in, you probably can't see anything. No, right here should see trees everywhere. Not like can you see the open sky or above the tree. So yeah, that would be a little bit of a weird or challenging angle to film this way or the film down below because I'm sure it's just green trees down below. You can't see anything. So that could be a little bit of a challenging when we should the different room, the bridge, the staircase. Simply not
Yeah.
because we feel
And
like
it's
the
tough
private or
because
important moment of the scene of the film.
yeah. It's also hard because, we're on effectively the same schedule as any other Hallmark movie, but we have to add in all of this travel time to account for. So we have to be really, really quick, which means that we can't afford to do something like send a camera off for a wide shot or frustratingly take a camera off the boat to film the boat from outside, right? Like we had drone shots of the boat from outside the boat, but we could never really put a boat in another boat and shoot back or like on the shore just because we couldn't take the time to move a camera like that. We had to be in the scene.
Definitely. I really like the storyline. I mean, like typical Hallmark movies or typical Hallmark film, like boy meet girl, cute meet a greet, and then they form a connection, friendship, and it becomes happy ending. I really like how they wrote the story about Claire. Her mission was to get the grant, the form important grant to her sister so she could sign it and be able to get the grant. So I really liked how Claire took it upon for herself. I'm doing this for my sister. I gotta find my sister. I gotta do it. And she wasn't really thinking about herself, so the story was not really about her. It was about her trying to get her sister. And of course, unexpected, she meets Danny, who she hired to help her to get to her sister. So what was it like working with JC and Raphael Fuentes. Ralph,
JC and
right?
Raphael, yeah, that's right, Raphael Fuentes. They were both great, very dedicated and kind of down for the challenge of the place and working through kind of the heat and the discomfort and you know not having places to hang out half the time and having to move fast. And I they both kind of we talked a lot about the character and they both brought a lot to it in terms of helping to turn those characters into kind of interesting people and find what makes them tick. And like talking about Claire and that motivation of wanting to help her sister, and she very much like JC very much understood what we were trying to do, and was like, yeah, I'm motivated by the guilt of like not wanting to ruin Amelia's life and like to get there, and at the same time she has this kind of feeling that she's always thought that Amelia can do all these things that she can't do, and is kind of learning that she can. And so we wanted to do a kind of fish out of water story where she doesn't stay that way, where she like is in an environment she's not used to and doesn't know how to be in, but she loves it and she does great. So it was never meant to be like kind of like we start her off being totally inappropriate for the environment, right? Like she comes dressed with this romantic vision of what she thinks a jungle adventure movie will look like. And then over time kind of learns to relax into it. And she like after the rapid scene where she's like, no, I love that. Like she may not know
Yeah.
what she's doing, but she's into it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I was like, ooh. So I wanted to know, like, what was it like filming that specific part of the rapping? Because I was like, how are they able to navigate through the quick rapping? I mean, on the boat. I know we have Danny, and we have the two boat hands, and we have Claire, the crew in training. But that part where she was like, going up, and where's the life jacket? Where's the life jacket? And then she looked for the life jacket, and then her suitcase come loose. So I was like, okay, what is happening here? And then, like, for the moment, because the river, or they just, but obviously it had to be kind of like one take through the rapids.
So that is the only thing in the movie that is not real. There are no rapids. We it's all visual effects and
Oh,
kind of tricks. We were actually it's also the only scene where the boat
wow, that's
wasn't moving.
amazing.
So we tied the boat to the side of the river. And then it was very much it was this was talking about JC being a champion. There was a day where we kind of talked through the various steps of what was going to happen, and then we had the suitcase tied on invisible string so people could pull it back and forth. And then we would be, I think I started off counting, and then eventually we just kind of, everyone kind of synced up, but we'd be like, all right, boat rocks right. And then the suitcase would go right and she'd stumble right and the camera would tip left and then we go and left and they'd do the opposite and go the other way.
Oh,
And she just kind of
very clever, very clever.
physical comedied her way through trying to pull that thing off the wall like a bunch of times. And it was so hot. Like I was really, really worried going into that day because we had very little to work with in terms of equipment and water and greens. We're not in a studio, right? We were on the Amazon, um, trying to fake that scene. But the one thing I didn't think of was how hard it would be for JC. So I felt bad, but she was great and she did a bunch of takes. And also, it was totally quiet. So it's just one of those things where you have to have faith that what you're doing is going to work because she was just stumbling back and forth for hours and hours and we're all silently sitting there. Yeah. It's rapids. Believe it. It's going to look good.
Yeah, that was I really enjoyed that part. I was like, so I've got to ask about that because sometimes it could be a little bit weird, but sometimes not. Again, movie made magic, so that was really fun. I also really like the chemistry between Shakespeare and Danny, and I like how she used the book reference. That she read the book, she talk about quotes, and Danny would be like, "Oh, that. What about you? I think that could be related to you." So it was a really nice connection they both had, trying to help each other discover their passion and trying to get Danny because he was with Amelia with the exploration and then he stopped because he didn't finish getting his degree. And then Amelia brought it up again. I would like to have on my team because I think you're really smart and really talented and you scared out in the Amazon. So I thought that was really pretty of how the story unfolds because it's not a typical Hallmark meet and greet, meet and cute, boy meet girl, about the life, happy ending. More of like a mission statement. Oh, someone left a passport behind. I gotta get that passport back to the person. And then they go on to the adventure. So I really like the different shift of love on the Amazon. So it's really good. I really like the story, how it different from the other destination movies and typical Hallmark formula.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we tried to think, spent a long time trying to think of a good motivation for someone to have to go hire a boat and go up the Amazon um, in 2025, right? Like what makes sense? What's a reason, or 2026, I guess. What's a reason that you have to do that, right? There's too much communication in the world now. So we tried to come up with this reason of helping her sister, so that it was something that felt, and also one thing I find funny, a lot of people were like, it doesn't make sense she'd have a phone. And it's like, well, just now, like people are starting to get Starlink terminals way out there, but there's plenty of places with no way to contact them. Like that, it's not far-fetched at all. Um, so yeah, we tried to think of a reason to get her out there along the way, and that because she found Danny through Amelia's social media. We were like, that way the connection that they already had kind of makes sense and they can develop that along the journey. But we wanted to have her be driven, right? Like the journey needs a purpose, and that this has to be a reason for her to put up with all of this stuff and to, you know, endure this journey for an end that doesn't feel selfish. And so that's why we wanted her to be helping her sister, that she's not doing it for something she wants, she's doing it for someone she loves. And that puts it in a different light.
Definitely. During the movie, during the movie, like in the village of the Amazon, in the movie, did you have any like expert and standby, like with the boat, if the boat breaks down, or if you're unsure with the village or the location, did you have like a couple of expert people from the place to help you, to guide you throughout the filming?
Well, so we weren't allowed to actually sit, like drive the boat ourselves. So the boat's owners, they had a captain with us and a
Right, of
crew.
course. Okay.
Yeah, and then in many of the places we went, we had our Peruvian production team with us, and then whoever was there from the location. um, and we would have an expert if we were someplace that was, a little more dangerous or involving animals or that kind of thing. We would tend to have someone. And the times when people got in the river, which got cut, so you don't see that. But we had a diver, and we had a stunt double for jumping into the Amazon, and also for the scene when she jumps from one boat to the other. We had that kind of safety monitor. But for the most part, it was our Peruvian production group and their expertise that got us through everything.
That's cool because I've always wondered with destination movies, like if you go to a destination movie that you have a band and you do some research and some scouting, so I was just curious like if you like connect with a team that knows the area well and will be willing to work with any production crew or filming crew for a movie. So it's really interesting to see how different countries change, adapt, or help or be limited. So I thought I'd ask that. So it's really interesting.
Actually, it was interesting because we were fortunate in that we already knew the Peruvian group from Machu Picchu Proposal, because it's not like it's a big filming destination. There are a few movies that have filmed in Iquitos, but a few. Excuse me, not a ton. There's famously Fitzcarraldo, the Herzog movie, and then there's actually the actor who played Claire and Amelia's dad, Ramsey. He was there the very first day, and then that night I saw him at the hotel, and we had dinner together. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I've been here in film before. Like I worked on this movie in the '90s. It was a Roger Corman movie called 800 Leagues Down the Amazon." And it's like they came out here and they thought we can just get a barge and build some thatch stuff on top of it and sail it down the Nanai and it'll look like the Amazon. I was like, that's exactly what we're doing. uh, so it was like, I'm glad. I don't know whether to be annoyed that somebody that nothing, there's no new ideas in the world, or honored that they came to the same conclusion. Um, but it was funny. So we got to import some film people who had some experience in that region, because this just not it's too small of a city for a real local film production community to exist. So we brought in Peruvian filmmakers.
That wrapped up my discussion about Love and the Amazon. I thought it was a really good movie. I mean, I enjoyed every single destination movies from Winter Escape and other months. So the last question is, I'm sure everybody would like to know if you're allowed to share. Is there any possibility movie project or in the work or coming up for you after direction?
I hope so.
Okay. So
I
it's a
shot
little
another
quiet
one,
right
but I
now.
don't. Yeah, I don't think I can say what the one I just filmed is, but I have at least one coming this 2026,
Okay.
and we're hopeful that there are a couple more that are in script development stage now. So hopefully we'll find some cool new places to bring to everyone.
definitely. What's your dream destination you would like to film at?
Oof, good question. I mean, I want to go, I think so. There's a couple that I want to get to that Mongolia, Japan, Egypt, Morocco. Also have tried the Galapagos, and we wanted to do we were gonna go to Antarctica for real, and we didn't actually get to do that. So that is also on my list. Would love to actually go shoot in Antarctica because I'm a glutton for punishment.
Those are really good locations, especially Japan. Though you gotta like think what kind of a storyline related with each of these really locations. So fingers crossed, those locations will be part of a Hallmark movie in the future.
Doing our best to make
Yeah,
it happen.
definitely. I'm not come on, get Colin, take him to Morocco, take him to Japan, do something. Go into another what do you see in another movie in Bangladesh at a different location? What kind of like mode of transportation you would like to experience? Because you've been on a boat, car, I don't know, maybe airplane or train or
I've done
horses
I've done a
or
train movie. I haven't done an airplane movie, but that seems too limiting, so I'm not super eager to do an airplane movie.
all right, well, that's all
Yeah,
for you for tonight, Colin. So I really appreciate you coming on to the Cock Chat podcast tonight to dive in about directing the love on the Amazon. I really appreciate it.
thank you. I appreciate you having me, and thank you to the dedicated translators down there who I don't understand at all, but I'm impressed by what you do.
Definitely, thank you so much. Hopefully, we can connect sometime to the future for the next couple of movies you direct and talk about more location wide.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, Colin.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Perfect.